I want to hear this story now. A New Yorker who survived the Hamas terror attack at the music festival. She is back in the United States, but says she has concerns over safety here at home as anti-Israeli protests are spanning across the country, have no sign of slowing down. Natalie Sanandaji joins us now, and it is so good to have you here. You live in Long Island. You were there in Israel for a wedding. You stayed for the holidays, and then you went to the rave in the desert. What happened? How were you woken up that morning?
Well, I arrived to the festival with 3 friends, and we arrived at about 1 a.m. We decided to take a rest at around 3 and wake up for the sunrise of the festival, which was supposed to be the most exciting part. And I was woken up by one of the girls from our campsite. She woke us up at about 6:30. She wanted us to just be alert and to understand what was happening. The way she described what was happening was kind of surreal.
What did she say?
She came up to me and she said some rockets have been intercepted overhead, but everything should be fine. This is normal for the area that we're in. Hopefully the party will continue. Just try to imagine anywhere else in the world where kids are at a festival dancing and suddenly rockets are being intercepted overhead and they react in such a calm manner. That just goes to show how much this is a reality for Israeli citizens.
And you knew that things were different when the music stopped.
Yes. So after a few minutes, we kind of waited to see if the rockets would stop, but they just kept coming one after the other. Security shut off the music and asked everyone to evacuate to their cars. That was probably the first time I saw the Israeli kids get a little bit nervous because, like I said, at first they thought this was just one of those other normal occurrences where it's a few rockets, then it stops. We were asked to evacuate. I mentioned that originally when we were evacuating to our cars, I had asked my friends if I could go to the bathroom because we figured it was just rockets. We'd be stuck in traffic for a little while. Everyone's trying to leave at the same time. And I figured I would go before we left the campgrounds. That occurrence didn't register in my head as a big occurrence throughout this whole situation until a few days ago when a video had surfaced of the Hamas terrorists going to those exact bathrooms moments after I was there and just shooting at every stall, trying to kill anyone who was inside. That was one of the first times that it really occurred to me how close I was to death.
You walked, you said from like 6:30 in the morning when you're woken. You don't know that you're actually safe back in your family's home, family friend's home until 1 p.m. So those were many, many hours of terror. Then you find out all that's happened. So now you're back here in the United States. You're watching all of this unfold. I'm sure you're glued to the news. There's so much of it. There's a lot of grief. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of passion, and there's a lot of demand for Israel to do something to make sure that Hamas could never do this again. I'm curious about, you're a young woman here in America. When you see these protests, how do you feel personally about it?
It's upsetting, especially seeing the protests happen on college campuses. These protests are created by children who are supposed to be well educated. And it seems that they're not educated at all, at least not on this subject. If they think that this is a fight between the Palestinian people and Israel, and that what Hamas is doing is going to free the Palestinian people, then they're just so wrong. They're just so misinformed. This isn't a fight between Israel and Palestine. This is a fight between Israel and Hamas, a terrorist organization who is just as complicit in the deaths of innocent Palestinians as they are in the deaths of innocent Israelis. They're putting the Palestinian people in harm's way. They're using them as their own human shields. Their agenda is not to free Palestine. Their agenda is to wipe out Israel and the Jewish people.
So you think they're missing the point?
Yes.
The larger point is Hamas, and it's not about the future for Palestinian people. Can I take you back for a moment here? You said when you were leaving the festival, so the sun's coming up, right? You saw the cars all lined up, I think going in both directions, and that was a tell that some of the organizers for the event said, don't drive anywhere. The road's clogged. And then you saw people hiding in a ditch, and you and your friends kept going. Why do you think you survived?
I really don't have the answer to that because we could have made a split-second decision and ran in a different direction, and that direction could have been the direction where the terrorists were, and we could have been killed. Every decision we made, we didn't know it was the right decision in that moment, but it ended up being the right decision. One of the decisions was to not hide in the ditch because my friend last minute said, if the terrorists find us in this ditch and they're coming from above us, we have nowhere to run. they're going to shoot at us and kill us. And that's what ended up happening to the kids who did stay behind.
And they did.
Yeah.
Did your friends have military training? Had they served in the IDF?
Yes.
So do you think that that helped you survive?
No, because there are so many kids who,
Insane.
they were all in the IDF, and so many of them didn't survive.
It also occurs to me, too, with all of these protests, that for young college students in America, if they were in Israel right now, they would be serving.
That's the thing. A lot of the people who are part of these protests, they've never been to Israel. They've never been to Gaza. They don't know what's actually happening there. They just see articles posted online, and they choose to believe what they see online, and then they start protesting. And I think a lot of people just need to start doing their own research and not just read one article and decide that they
Where's
know.
the best place for young people to get good information about it, if you had to suggest?
It's hard to say. It really depends on the time, because, you know, sometimes even the greatest news channels will report something wrong. So it really depends on the timing. My advice is to look at many news channels, look at many websites. Don't just go to one and decide that you're going to get all your information from that one. Do research on multiple platforms.
We're glad you're here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Natalie, you got a ride with a guy in a white pickup truck, and you have no idea who that guy is. How many people do you think he saved that day?
At least maybe 50.
And you're one of them.
And I'm one of them. I've heard from multiple people that some people have seen videos of him, that they might know who he is, and try to get me in touch with him, because I would really like to thank him.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Let us know about that, too.
Yeah.
Thanks, Natalie. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome home.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.